For centuries, Atlantis has remained one of history's greatest mysteries, described by Plato as a powerful civilization that vanished in a single night. Its existence has been debated for millennia. But Atlantis is not the only lost city. Across the world, many ancient ruins challenge our understanding of history. They all have one thing in common. All of them have been forgotten in time. From underground metropolises to megalithic structures too massive to explain, these sites raise questions about the civilizations that built them and why they disappeared. In this documentary, we will explore lost cities, whether they exist only in legend or have been rediscovered. We will also examine what these ruins reveal to scientists and how much of our past is still waiting to be uncovered. The legend of Atlantis has fascinated scholars, historians, and explorers for centuries. The primary source of this story comes from the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. He described Atlantis in two of his dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, written around 360 BC. According to Plato, Atlantis was a vast island empire that existed thousands of years before ancient Greece. It was located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the name the Greeks used for the Strait of Gibraltar. The island was home to a highly advanced civilization with fertile lands, abundant resources, and a thriving economy. Their people were skilled in engineering, agriculture, and warfare. They had a powerful fleet and sought to expand their influence across Europe and North Africa. Plato described the capital city as a masterpiece of urban planning. It was built in concentric rings of land and water, creating a natural defense system. At the center stood a magnificent temple dedicated to Poseidon, the sea god whom the Atlanteans worshipped. Inside the temple was a colossal golden statue of Poseidon riding a chariot drawn by winged horses. The city's walls were built from white, red, and black stone, reinforced with bronze, tin, and orichalcum, a rare metal said to be of great value. Wide canals connected different parts of the city, allowing for easy transportation and trade. For generations, Atlantis prospered under a system of laws that promoted harmony and justice. However, over time, its people became consumed by greed and ambition. They waged wars of conquest, seeking to dominate the known world. Their attempt to invade Athens ended in failure, marking the beginning of their downfall. The gods, angered by their arrogance, sent devastating earthquakes and floods. In a single day and night of destruction, Atlantis was swallowed by the sea, disappearing without a trace. Plato's account raises ongoing questions about whether Atlantis was a real civilization or a philosophical allegory. Many scholars argue that Plato, as a philosopher rather than a historian, used the story of Atlantis to illustrate a moral lesson. He warned about the dangers of corruption and unchecked ambition. Others point to the level of detail in his descriptions, including the island's geography and governance, as indications that the story may have been based on real events. Plato stated that Atlantis disappeared 9,000 years before the time of Solon. He was a well-known Athenian statesman of the 6th century BC. This timeline would place its destruction around 11,600 years ago, a period that coincides with significant climatic changes at the end of the last ice age. According to Plato, Solon learned of Atlantis during a visit to Egypt. Priests in the city of Samos reportedly preserved records of a great conflict between early Athens and Atlantis. These Egyptian records, if they existed, would have been part of a long tradition of historical preservation. Interestingly, many ancient cultures, from Mesopotamia to India, have myths describing a great flood that wiped out entire societies. In geological terms, this period corresponds with the Younger Dryas, a sudden climatic shift that began approximately 12,800 years ago. It lasted for over 1,000 years. During this time, global temperatures dropped significantly, ice sheets expanded, and the planet entered a prolonged period of cold. The cause of this abrupt cooling remains debated. Some scientists suggest it was triggered by shifts in ocean currents or volcanic activity. Another hypothesis, known as the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis, proposes that a comet or its fragments struck Earth around this time. This event may have caused widespread fires and atmospheric disturbances. These disturbances could have blocked sunlight, further accelerating cooling. Approximately 11,600 years ago, the climate changed once again. This period, known as Meltwater Pulse 1b, marked the end of the Ice Age. Ice sheets melted rapidly, causing sea levels to rise. Coastal regions were submerged, and any settlements near shorelines would have been lost beneath rising waters. Plato's assertion that Atlantis disappeared in a single day and night of misfortune aligns with this period of rapid change. Some speculate that his account preserved distant memories of real geological events. However, despite numerous theories and attempts to locate Atlantis, no definitive evidence has been found to confirm its existence. The idea that Atlantis was not the only lost city has been widely debated. If catastrophic flooding events occurred at the end of the last ice age, it is possible that other societies faced a similar fate. Some ancient religious texts described global floods, events that parallel what geologists identify as the rapid sea level rise that followed the Younger Dryas period. One of the most well-known flood narratives is the biblical story of Noah. According to his story, the rising waters submerged the world, leaving only a small group of survivors. However, this account is not unique to the Bible. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest recorded texts from Mesopotamia, also tells of a great flood that wiped out an advanced civilization. Similarly, Hindu traditions describe Pralaya, a cyclical event in which the world is periodically destroyed by water before being renewed. While these stories originate from different cultures, they share striking similarities. Some researchers suggest that they may be describing the same historical event from different perspectives. Archaeological discoveries provide additional context to these theories. Submerged ruins have been found in various parts of the world, raising the question of whether some ancient settlements were lost to rising seas. While some of those underwater formations appear to be natural, others suggest the presence of structures that may have once been inhabited. One example is the Bimini Road, a discovery made in 1968 off the coast of the Bahamas. This underwater feature consists of large flat stone blocks arranged in a linear pattern, leading some to speculate that it could be the remains of an ancient structure, such as a roadway or a wall. Supporters of this theory argue that the stones are too precisely aligned to be a natural formation and point to their seemingly deliberate placement. However, geological studies suggest otherwise. Most geologists classify the Bimini Road as an example of beach rock, a naturally occurring limestone formation shaped by ocean currents and erosion. Analysis of the stones has shown that they formed in shallow coastal waters and gradually fractured into rectangular shapes over time. Core samples taken from the site have revealed layers consistent with natural rock formation rather than human construction. Additionally, no tools, carvings, or other artifacts have been found in the area to support the idea of human involvement. Of course, similar structures have been found across the world. Another intriguing case is the ancient city of Dwarka, found off the coast of modern India. According to Hindu texts, Dwarka was ruled by god King Krishna and was known for its grand architecture, strong fortifications, and bustling markets. The texts state that the city was eventually submerged by rising waters. For centuries, this was considered purely mythological. However, in 2001, marine archaeologists discovered underwater ruins near present-day Dwarka. The structures included walls, pillars, and foundations that resembled descriptions from ancient texts. Some of these ruins were dated to be over 9,000 years old, making them among the oldest known submerged settlements. This finding led to some researchers to suggest that early civilizations may have been more advanced than previously believed, possessing engineering and architectural knowledge that allowed them to build thriving cities long before recorded history. Discoveries such as these suggest that rising sea levels at the end of the Ice Age may have submerged early coastal cities. Many regions that would have been inhabited thousands of years ago are now beneath the ocean, potentially hiding further evidence of ancient civilizations. The Younger Dryas period, with its dramatic climate shifts and rapid glacial melting, likely caused significant disruptions to early human societies. While evidence of pre-Ice Age civilizations remains inconclusive, some researchers propose that survivors of these environmental changes adapted and rebuilt. Some of the earliest known post-Ice Age settlements emerged in regions close to where Atlantis was said to have existed. Göbekli Tepe, located in southeastern Turkey, is one of the most significant archaeological discoveries of the modern era. The site was first identified in the 19th.
One group of historians and archaeologists has developed a theory suggesting a possible connection between Atlantis and early Egyptian civilization. According to this idea, if Atlantis was a real civilization, its survivors may have traveled to other regions, carrying their knowledge with them. Some researchers speculate that Egypt, one of the world's earliest known advanced societies, may have preserved elements of this lost knowledge in its architecture, astronomy, and religious traditions. Ancient Egyptian texts describe a time before the reign of the first pharaohs. These accounts mention semi-divine rulers known as the Shemsu-Hor, or followers of Horus. According to Egyptian tradition, these beings were said to have come from a distant land and ruled for thousands of years before dynastic Egypt emerged. Some researchers interpret this as a reference to an earlier civilization that may have influenced Egypt's development. One of the most debated aspects of this theory concerns the Great Sphinx of Giza. Mainstream archaeology dates the Sphinx to around 2500 BC, during the reign of Pharaoh Khafre. However, some researchers, including geologist Robert Schoch, argue that the deep erosion patterns found on the monument suggest prolonged exposure to heavy rainfall. Since Egypt's last period of significant rainfall ended around the end of the Ice Age, approximately 10,000 BC, this interpretation would imply that the Sphinx is much older than previously thought. Another argument often cited in support of this theory is the astronomical alignment of the Giza pyramids. The three largest pyramids, Khufu, Khafre, and Menkaure, are arranged in a pattern that some researchers believe mirrors the three bright stars of Orion's belt. This idea, known as the Orion correlation theory, was first proposed by researcher Robert Bauval in the 1990s. According to Bauval, the pyramids were intentionally positioned to reflect the alignment of these stars as they appeared in the sky around 10,500 BC. Bauval's theory is based on the idea that the ancient Egyptians associated Orion with the god Osiris, the ruler of the afterlife. Inscriptions and religious texts suggest that the pharaohs believed their souls would join Osiris in the stars after death. Supporters of the theory argue that aligning the pyramids with Orion's belt was a way to symbolically link the tombs of the pharaohs to the heavens, reinforcing their divine connection. Additionally, the construction of the pyramids demonstrates an extraordinary level of precision. The Great Pyramid of Giza is aligned almost perfectly with the cardinal directions, with an error of less than 0.05 degrees. This level of accuracy, achieved without modern tools, continues to be a subject of study. Some researchers question whether the ancient Egyptians developed these advanced engineering techniques entirely on their own, or if they inherited knowledge from an earlier, now lost civilization. While mainstream archaeology attributes these achievements to the ingenuity of the ancient Egyptians, the debate over whether earlier influences played a role remains ongoing. For some, the location of Egypt, relatively close to where Plato described Atlantis, has been enough to suggest a possible connection. According to this view, survivors of Atlantis, if they existed, could have passed on their knowledge of engineering, astronomy, and architecture to early Egyptian civilization, influencing the construction of its great monuments. While Atlantis remains the most famous lost city in history, other ancient settlements provide concrete evidence of human ingenuity and advanced construction. These sites demonstrate the remarkable ability of past civilizations to adapt to their environments and build structures that challenge conventional historical timelines. One of the most fascinating examples is Derinkuyu, an underground city hidden beneath modern Turkey. Derinkuyu is a vast subterranean settlement carved into the soft volcanic rock of Cappadocia. It extends to a depth of approximately 85 meters and could accommodate thousands of people. The complexity of its design suggests highly developed engineering skills. With 18 levels of tunnels, the city contained all the necessary infrastructure for sustained habitation, including living quarters, storage rooms, schools, markets, wineries, and even a church on the lowest level. This underground city was designed to support a large population for extended periods. Estimates suggest it could house up to 20,000 people. The builders incorporated a sophisticated ventilation system consisting of over 50 air shafts to ensure fresh air circulated throughout the city. A deep well provided a reliable source of water. Additionally, the city's access points were fortified with massive stone doors, each weighing over half a ton. These doors could only be moved from the inside, offering protection against external threats. The design of Derinkuyu suggests that security was a primary concern for its people. Narrow tunnels forced intruders to move in a single file, making it easier for defenders to control access points. The ability to seal the city from within implies that its inhabitants faced a significant external threat. Some historians tried to answer the question of who built Derinkuyu. They attribute its construction to the Phrygians in the 8th century BC, while others believe the Hittites, who controlled parts of Anatolia over 3,000 years ago, were responsible. However, some researchers propose a much earlier date. They suggest that Derinkuyu could be over 10,000 years old, placing its construction around the same time as Göbekli Tepe, the world's oldest known megalithic site. While many underground cities in Cappadocia were likely built as refugees from warfare and invasion, some theories suggest that Derinkuyu may have served a different purpose. Given its potential age, some speculate that it was constructed as a shelter in response to a natural disaster rather than human conflict. The end of the last ice age brought dramatic climate shifts, rising sea levels, and widespread environmental changes. It is possible that the builders of Derinkuyu sought to protect themselves from an uncertain and changing world. But Derinkuyu is not the only underground city in the region. More than 200 similar sites have been discovered throughout Cappadocia. Many are connected by tunnels that stretch for kilometers, forming an extensive subterranean network. In 2014, archaeologists uncovered another massive underground city beneath the Turkish town of Nevşehir. Early studies suggest it could be even larger than Derinkuyu, further emphasizing the scale of ancient underground construction. Unfortunately, because there are no written records about their construction, very little is known about these underground cities. For some, this absence of texts is seen as evidence of their great age, suggesting that they may have been built long before the first known writing systems emerged. However, without definitive proof, the question of who built them and for what purpose remains open to interpretation. Another remarkable site from the ancient world stands in present-day Lebanon. Known as Baalbek, this city has been a center of human settlement for thousands of years. Today, it is best known for its Roman-era temples, built in honor of Jupiter, Bacchus, and Venus. However, beneath these impressive ruins lies something even older and more enigmatic in the form of the megalithic foundations of the city. These foundations consist of enormous stone blocks, some of the heaviest ever used in construction. The site of Baalbek has been inhabited for millennia. The earliest evidence of human activity in the area dates back at least 9,000 years ago during the Neolithic period. Over time, it became an important religious and cultural center. The first major constructions on the site are believed to have been built by the Phoenicians, a civilization that flourished in the eastern Mediterranean. They dedicated the site to Baal, a prominent deity in their pantheon, from whom the city likely derived its name. By the time the Greeks arrived in the region, the city had become known as Heliopolis, meaning City of the Sun. The Greeks, who controlled the area after the conquests of Alexander the Great, continued its use as a religious center. However, it was during the Roman period, beginning in the 1st century BC, that Baalbek saw its most extensive construction. The Romans built grand temples on top of pre-existing structures, turning the city into one of the largest religious complexes in their empire. These structures consist of massive limestone blocks, some of which are estimated to weigh over 1,000 tons. The largest, part of what is known as the trilithon, measures approximately 20 meters in length, 4 meters in height, and weighs around 1,200 tons. These blocks were precisely cut and fitted together without the use of mortar, forming a raised platform that would later support Roman structures. The construction techniques used to move and position these blocks remain unknown. No ancient records describe how they were transported, and no remnants of ramps, pulleys, or lifting devices have been found. Even the Romans, known for their advanced engineering, chose to build upon the platform rather than attempt to move the stones themselves. Located not far from the site, an ancient quarry contains even larger monolithic stones. One of the most famous is known as the Stone of the Pregnant Woman. This massive block, still partially attached to the bedrock, weighs around 1,650 tons. In 2014, archaeologists discovered an even larger stone beneath it, estimated to weigh over 1,800 tons.
Based on these observations, he suggested that Yonaguni was once a built environment, constructed by an early civilization and later submerged by rising sea levels. However, not all experts agree. Some geologists, including Robert Schoch, argue that the Yonaguni monument is a natural rock formation shaped by thousands of years of erosion and seismic activity. What appears to be man-made structures, they suggest, are simply natural fractures in the rock. The most intriguing question about this monument for scientists is its age. According to Kimura, these features suggest that Yonaguni was built when the area was above sea level, which would date it to at least 10,000 years ago, before the last ice age ended. And because Plato's Atlantis was also described as having terraces, steps, and canals, many believe that this city may have suffered the same fate. Many ancient sites, like Yonaguni, have been discovered around the world. As scientists and historians continue their work to uncover more about them, there are still cities, like Atlantis, that remain lost, existing only in legend. Another such place is Shambhala, a hidden kingdom said to lie deep within the Himalayas. Shambhala is described in Tibetan Buddhist texts as a mystical realm of wisdom, peace, and enlightenment. Unlike the great cities built by ancient civilizations, it is depicted as a spiritual paradise, one that can only be reached by those who have attained a certain level of purity and understanding. According to these texts, Shambhala is ruled by a lineage of enlightened kings who safeguard hidden knowledge, said to guide humanity in times of crisis. The Kalachakra Tantra, one of the most revered teachings in Tibetan Buddhism, provides the most detailed descriptions of Shambhala. It portrays the kingdom as a flourishing land, meticulously designed with radiant temples, golden palaces, and vast gardens. The city is arranged in concentric rings, much like the mandalas used in Buddhist meditation, symbolizing harmony and cosmic balance. At its center stands the majestic palace of the ruling king, surrounded by luminous structures built with precious materials. The inhabitants of Shambhala are said to live in perfect harmony, free from suffering, conflict, and decay. According to prophecy, a time will come when the world descends into great chaos. At this moment, the final ruler of Shambhala, known as the Kalki king, is said to emerge with a vast army to defeat the forces of darkness and restore balance.
Some interpret this apocalyptic vision not as a literal event, but as a symbolic representation of spiritual awakening, a transformation that occurs within rather than in the physical world. While the legend remains a matter of faith rather than history, many explorers and scholars have searched for a real-world counterpart. Some have linked Shambhala to lost Himalayan valleys, while others have drawn parallels with Agartha, another mythical kingdom believed to exist beneath the Earth's surface. Unlike Shambhala, Agartha is said to be a vast subterranean civilization connected by an intricate network of tunnels stretching across continents. Some view it as nothing more than a metaphor for enlightenment and inner transformation, while others believe it could be the remnant of a hidden civilization lost to time. Whatever the truth behind the legend, there is evidence that the story of Shambhala has captured the attention of powerful figures throughout history. Among them were members of the Nazi regime who were deeply invested in the search for lost knowledge. Between 1938 and 1939, the Nazis organized an official expedition to Tibet. Led by scientist and explorer Ernst Schaefer, the mission operated under the orders of Heinrich Himmler, one of the most influential figures in the Third Reich. Himmler was deeply interested in esoteric traditions and believed that ancient knowledge could provide insight into the origins and supposed superiority of the Aryan race. The expedition to Tibet was carried out by the Ahnenerbe, a Nazi research institute dedicated to uncovering evidence of Germany's ancestral heritage. The organization conducted studies in anthropology, archaeology, and even mythology, often distorting historical findings to fit Nazi ideology. Schaefer's team, which included zoologists, geologists, and ethnographers, traveled across the harsh landscapes of the Himalayas, documenting Tibetan customs, measuring skulls, and gathering artifacts. Beyond their official anthropological studies, some believe the Nazis were searching for something more elusive, a hidden source of ancient wisdom. Occult beliefs within the Nazi leadership fueled speculation that Tibet might be home to a lost civilization, one that preserved knowledge from a forgotten age. Some accounts suggest they sought access to Shambhala. In some interpretations of Buddhist texts, Shambhala is not a physical city, but rather a realm of wisdom, protected by enlightened beings. These writings suggest it is a place where sacred knowledge is preserved, awaiting a time when it will be revealed to the world. And of course, the search for Shambhala was not limited to the Nazis. Over the centuries, explorers, mystics, and secret societies have sought its location, each with different interpretations of what they hoped to find. Some believed it held the key to spiritual enlightenment, while others speculated that it concealed advanced knowledge or technology lost to time. Despite numerous attempts to uncover its secrets, no definitive evidence of Shambhala's existence has ever been found. While researchers find theories about these ancient cities intriguing, whether real sites like Göbekli Tepe or legendary places like Atlantis, many scholars remain skeptical. Their argument is straightforward. None of these locations provide definitive proof of an earlier advanced civilization. According to mainstream archaeology, there is no concrete evidence to support the idea that a highly developed society existed before Mesopotamia or Egypt. Their strongest argument against these theories is the absence of written records. Throughout history, all known civilizations have left behind some form of documentation, whether through carvings, inscriptions, or texts. If an earlier civilization had once flourished, they think that its records should exist. Yet no known language, trade network, or cultural influence has been definitively linked to such a society. Another key argument focuses on population continuity. Civilizations do not simply vanish without a trace. Even when great empires collapse, like the Roman or the Mayan civilizations, their people survive, spreading their culture, traditions, and knowledge. If an earlier, highly advanced civilization had existed, their customs and technology should have persisted in later societies, according to these critics. Yet there is another perspective. Some scientists argue that natural disasters could explain why no evidence of such a civilization remains. Earth's history is filled with cataclysmic events that could have wiped out entire populations. One of the possibilities is rapid sea level rise caused by the sudden melting of ice sheets. There are also hypotheses involving geological disasters. Some researchers propose that sudden pole shifts or major earthquakes and tsunamis could have devastated entire regions, leaving little behind. Others suggest that volcanic eruptions or changes in Earth's magnetic field might have triggered environmental collapse. If such events occurred, they could explain why the earliest known civilizations emerged in Mesopotamia around 10,000 years ago. Rather than being the first civilization, it is possible that earlier societies existed but were lost due to catastrophic events, leaving little trace behind. Because of this, many believe that our understanding of history remains incomplete. Some predict that it may take years before we can determine with certainty when the first human civilization truly began. And as time passes, researchers continue to uncover new evidence, bringing them closer to answering this fundamental question. While much of our ancient past remains uncertain, modern technology is helping scientists close the gap between speculation and evidence. With tools like LiDAR scanning, satellite imaging, and ground-penetrating radar, researchers are uncovering hidden civilizations buried beneath jungles, deserts, and even ice sheets. One of the most significant breakthroughs in modern archaeology has come from LiDAR, a remote sensing technology that uses laser pulses to map terrain hidden beneath dense vegetation. For decades, archaeologists believed that the Amazon rainforest was an untouched wilderness, incapable of supporting large, organized societies. However, LiDAR scans have disproven this theory. In Ecuador's Upano Valley, researchers identified an ancient urban landscape buried beneath centuries of jungle growth. The scans revealed 6,000 rectangular platforms, extensive road networks, and complex irrigation systems. This was a clear sign of advanced city planning. Some structures were as large as modern football fields, indicating that a sophisticated civilization once thrived in this region. A similar discovery occurred in Bolivia's Llanos de Mojos, where LiDAR scans uncovered a network of lost cities. These sites featured pyramidal structures, defensive walls, and raised causeways that connected different settlements, further proving that large-scale urban centers once existed deep within the Amazon. While LiDAR is uncovering ancient cities and jungles, satellite imaging is exposing forgotten structures buried under vast deserts and frozen landscapes. In Egypt and the Sahara, declassified satellite images have revealed geometric formations beneath the sand. Some researchers speculate that these could be the ruins